why hasn't Paige like resonated in the same way that Caitlyn did? And I think there's a bevy of reasons. But I also think that people don't find efficiency to be particularly sexy. Caitlyn is incredible. Her dishes are stupid, all of those things. And Paige is efficient as hell. And that is enough to put people to sleep because they're like, I don't know what that means and I don't care. Where are the highlights? Where are the crazy behind the back passes? Where are you shooting from the logo?
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the show. Megan and I are fresh off a plane from Tokyo, Japan.
I was like, fresh?
No, we're not fresh. We're just fresh off
fresh.
planes.
Yeah.
We just got back from Tokyo, spent a week there, a wonderful week. I mean, it was amazing. I feel like we did everything we could humanly possibly do, but still there's more to do, so we have to go back.
We were there with Nike with their like think tank program, which is basically just like a bunch of female athletes doing cool shit. I don't know how else to explain it. And it was like we did everything that you would never or could never do if like you just planned your own trip to Tokyo. And then we didn't do everything that you would have done. Not everything, but a lot of stuff that you would have done if like you plan your own trip. So we just had all of these really cool like experiences. We went out to like where the best denim in the world is made and like did just like all these things. The track championships were going on. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, we started out in Kyoto. So that was the first couple days. That's where we did the denim making, saw how they make it, how they make the indigo. That was pretty incredible. We saw a private Geiko show, which is kind of like the elite.
Maiko?
Yeah, Geiko Maiko. That's kind of like the elite way of saying geisha. We learned that. We learned a lot about geishas, a lot about the culture. Then we moved over to Tokyo and we saw Tokyo Tower. We had a special happy hour up there. Honestly, we saw a lot. It finished with the track meet. What do you think? I mean, listen, when I was planning for the trip, I didn't care about anything else, but what did I care the most about? I'm quizzing you. There was one thing and one thing only.
7-Eleven.
That's right.
Lawson's and Family Mart.
Yeah, but more so 7-Eleven.
7-Eleven.
What I learned is it's basically, they're all the same with like small deviations. Like their own versions of things. But yeah, it's basically the same. So 7-Eleven and then just the food in general. So what do you think on your trip? Like what was like your favorite bite?
Really? Favorite bite?
Yeah.
That is tough.
Not really.
I think, oh man, I think the Wagyu at the fish market that was cooked directly in front of your face.
Oh, it's like on a skewer.
Amazing.
Oh, that was good. Sprinkled with salt.
The tuna cut right out of the belly of the tuna.
Yeah, we did a private.
From Yoshi-san. Incredible.
Private dinner. Or actually it was lunch. A private lunch by Yoshi-san.
Unbelievable. Wow. I mean, the egg sandwich on white bread from 7-Eleven was amazing.
You could put anything on that bread. 7-Eleven has sandwiches on, this white bread that is unreal. You could put literally anything on it. I would eat it. I will add to that everything in the fish market for sure. So I'm just putting that as one bite. We had like 4, 5, 6 things. And then so what Japan, I didn't know this really, but Japan's known for their pizza. Tokyo's known for their pizza. So we went to 2 different pizza places. Savoy was the first. I loved it. They had a garlic pizza that was amazing. But the second spot we went to, Pizza Station, they had a burrata pizza. You you drizzled honey on it or truffle oil. Oh, wow. Oh,
nuts.
My God. That bite and the crust, their like crust is salted. Their dough is salted. So that was by far my least favorite part of the trip was the heat. Holy shit. That was my least favorite part. You just really it
was unreal.
You got to embrace the sweat. But we also got to go to the track. We got to go to the track. The World Championships. We saw Tara Davis Woodall win the long jump. I didn't know they went like 5, 6 times. So that was really cool to see. She smashed that. She's going to be at Athlos here in Times Square, running down Times Square, doing that in like a month. So that'll be
So cool.
And we saw the 100-meter finals for the men and women. So it was really fun. I thought the track was great. And then, last but not least, we're in one of the more epic TikToks. Thank you to Naomi Osaka, who basically forced everybody to do this. No, we wanted to, but it was definitely her brainchild.
She did.
And it was, I'm glad we participated.
Yeah, same. It was hilarious.
What was the inspo behind your move? I need to hear this.
I don't know.
I mean,
delirium. I think it was delirium. I wasn't in my right mind because of the heat. I don't know. I don't know the TikTok. I don't know what to do. I've never seen it. I didn't
see it? They showed it to us right before.
No,
so you knew you had an idea.
No, I didn't see it.
And
I wasn't
how'd you know
in
to do
that
a move?
scrum. Because everybody else was doing the move. So I was like, I guess you just do you got
you got
do
3
seconds to bring it home. Yeah. What was your inspiration for your thing?
I can't roll my tongue. It's just a bird. I stuck with the theme. I stayed on theme. And everybody else was standing. So I was like, I'm going to sit.
Yeah. No, I loved it. And that was a beautiful flower arrangement behind you.
It was.
Yeah. No, I loved it. I was cracking up. I was like, I don't get what's going on. But I didn't hear the music. But I feel like, they're all the same. You get a few seconds to get your shit off. And that's what TikTok is. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I had a great time. Also today, joining us, which I'm very excited for, the leader of the big three, Elle Duncan, is going to be joining us. I can't wait to get all her thoughts on all the things, but obviously it'll be W heavy as we're heading into the playoffs, which Sue is somehow pulling up. Were you getting your VPNs involved in
You don't need a
Japan?
VPN. You don't need a VPN.
Oh.
Nope. Just
Wow.
right on the app.
Just global.
Right on the
There
app.
you go. All right. Let's get into the show. I'm Megan Rapinoe.
And I'm Sue Bird. This is A Touch More. Let's get into it.
Support for A Touch More comes from Google Pixel and the all-new Google Pixel 10. With Google Pixel's most powerful chip, unbelievable camera quality, and mind-blowing AI with Gemini, there's never been a better time to get outside of your comfort phone. It's got Magic Q, the time-saving feature that gets you the right info when you need it. Plus, a built-in camera coach that helps guide you on how to take the best pic. And you can generate videos of pretty much anything you can imagine with Gemini. Head to the Google Store now to learn more about how Google Pixel never settles.
Gemini mobile app availability varies. Check responses. Internet connection required. Magic Q availability varies. Camera coach results may vary. Subscription required and availability varies for VO3 video generation. Users 18 and up.
All right, heading right into the check-in. Topic 1, WNBA playoffs are starting. Just a disclaimer before we get right into it. Flag for our listeners. We are recording this on Tuesday. So before the episode drops on Thursday, the second games of each series will have been played, but we're going to do our best to give, big picture, small picture. Sue, what do you got your eyes on so far?
Well, as you mentioned, I did roll over at I don't even know, 6 a.m. or so. And I happened to catch the last 5-6 minutes of regulation in the New York Phoenix game 1. And then I watched all overtime as well. So that was a really good game. I think Phoenix had a chance, man. That was the one where I'm sure they're in their film sessions right now, like the one that got away. So now they're going to be going to New York. They have to win in order to keep the series going. But it was an interesting game. I feel like a lot of eyeballs have been on the Liberty because of all the injuries. Started out the season really hot. They were number 1 for a while, had injuries, started to fall off. So everybody's been wondering, who are they? So I think what we saw was a little bit of fatigue. The thing that jumped out the most, Phoenix's defense was woof. They were physical. Phoenix's defense was tough. And I think it wore the Liberty down a little bit. You saw some fatigue, but they made plays when they needed to. Sabrina wasn't necessarily hitting her shots down the stretch, but was making plays. Stewie was finding ways to score. Sadly for Stewie, she came down funny on her knee. So it's a little bit of a TBD. whether she plays, and the implications there are huge. But New York's coming home.
Huge.
And we all know how Barclays is. I will be in the building for that game. You will be in the building for the Storm game, who sadly lost to the Aces.
They sure did.
Yeah. So we were wide awake for that game.
Whoa. Whoa.
We were wide awake for that game. Man, Vegas is just playing really well. I actually talked about this on Bird's Eye View. It's like, if you're going into the playoffs on a 16-game winning streak, are you A, feeling nervous about the law of numbers averages, like, oh God, we're going to drop one soon here? Or B, are you like, nah, we won those games for a reason, and you're confident?
No, we won those games for a reason. You're confident. They're not on a streak of like, we haven't lost all year. It's not like a undefeated
16
type.
games is like, I think it's a record.
Games,
17 is probably
for
the record.
sure. No, I know, but do you know what I'm saying? Like, you're not like, I don't know, that Dolphins team that like won every game and like you're just like waiting to lose. They've had a wild season up and down. I think they're in a space, it feels like, where they're just like, we're playing well. Of course, they can have a bad game. They can lose a game. I think they know that. But I think they have clearly figured out like, oh, no, we're playing well. This is what we're doing well. They've like found their group. So I think for them, especially such an experienced team in the playoffs, obviously they've won a bunch. They've had a very up and down year, which I think has seemingly created a lot of resilience in them. I think they're like, I'm feeling good.
Okay. Well, they've won now
and
17.
I think it's showing.
Yeah, they've won now 17 in a row. And yeah, you'll be in the building to see if it's 18. If
you're on that team?
No, I am
like,
a glass half empty kind of person in the sports world. And I'm like, fuck, we're going to lose soon. I hope it's not this one.
But I mean, it's a series. So if you lose one game, it's okay.
No, I know. I think, okay, yeah. I can be very glass half empty because I'm always preparing for the worst. But at the same time, once the ball is tipped, you're not thinking about that anyways. So it doesn't matter. Yeah. So that was kind of the playoff games. The postseason awards are starting to, roll out. Veronica Burton won Most Improved Player, very well deserving. Actually, Diana Taurasi, like maybe 2 or 3 years ago when she was still playing, I think Veronica might have been on Phoenix for a hot second, and she always had really nice things to say about her as a player. So it's wonderful to see when people get honored in this way. But the Valkyries, they lost the first one to Minnesota and Tish Heidemann. They're not going to be in their building. The Valkyries won't be in their building for game 2. It got booked by I looked it up. It's like the Laver Cup, the Layer Cup.
Laver Cup.
Tennis thing. Tennis, golf?
Tennis.
Yeah,
Rod Laver. What are your thoughts on that, Sue?
I think this is just another wonderful reminder that the systems that be are not and have not been set up for the WNBA and for women's sports really to succeed. I think a lot of people at times when, the naysayers get into the argument of, well, if people cared, the business would be doing better. Like they'd put you on TV if they thought people would watch. It's like, no, it's because we've been held back. And this is just another example, like I said, of us not being able to be great because decisions were made that had nothing to do with are people going to come? Are people going to watch? Clearly people come. The Valkyries led the league in attendance. They led the league in home attendance. So this is just a decision that was made months and months ago. And for those that are like, wow, this doesn't make sense. You're right. It doesn't make sense. And we've been trying to tell you things don't make sense. And that's why we haven't been able to succeed. What do you think?
Well, all the things that you said, of course. And just for clarification for listeners. So stadium availability is like if you play women's sports, stadium availability and how difficult and frustrating it can be. Often the women's teams are a number of notches down on the priorities list because the owners of the women's teams generally do not own their stadiums. This is not the case here. And now there's no ability to further capitalize and capture what would be an insane environment at the Chase Center of an expansion team for the first time ever. This happens over and over and over again. Whenever something doesn't make sense in women's sports, generally, it's because a decision was made that goes against the potential and the believing and the investing in of the league. It's not because somebody made a bad decision, generally. It's not because like fans aren't showing up or there wasn't the support or there wasn't the TV ratings or numbers, blah, 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 blah. Usually it's an undercutting of women's sports and the potential thereof. So that's frustrating. And this is yet another example when this was in complete control of the organization that owns the team. So that's it, really.
Another award was just given out to Paige Bueckers. She is officially Rookie of the Year. Not a lot of surprise there. She had a tremendous season. I don't think there's really much to say, but there is somebody that we're bringing on. I think it's time, and we're definitely going to get her thoughts. So without further ado, today we've got Elle Duncan joining the show. Elle is an accomplished sports anchor and television personality, a cornerstone of ESPN SportsCenter since 2016. She hosts WNBA Countdown, as well as College Game Day for women's college basketball, and helped assemble broadcasting's first super team. I wonder if they're going to need a second apron soon. It's called The Big Three. She works alongside Chinea Ogwumike and Andrea Carter. She also co-hosts her own podcast and YouTube show, The Elle Duncan Show. Please welcome Elle Duncan.
Bring them out. Support for A Touch More comes from Google Pixel. Look, it's 2025. You shouldn't be settling for just any old phone. Instead, get outside of your comfort phone with Google Pixel 10. Now, you may already be familiar with Pixel's industry-defining camera, but have you heard about its built-in camera coach that guides you on how to get the best from every shot? Or being able to share your camera in Gemini Live to have a back-and-forth chat about what you're seeing. Or, and this is really cool, video generation with Gemini, which allows you to create videos of practically anything you can imagine simply by describing it. And these are just a small handful of the features that make the Pixel 10 so extraordinary. Head to the Google Store now and learn more about how Google Pixel never settles.
Camera coach results may vary. Check responses for Gemini Live. Compatibility and availability varies. Users 18 and up. Subscription required and availability varies for VO3 video generation. Users 18 and up.
Elle, thank you so much for coming on. I just want to say that you're still in my phone. I have you saved as Elle Loren. Do you want to explain that to the people?
You explain to everybody why you have me in your phone as Elle Loren, please.
Well, your proper government name is Lauren.
It is.
I don't know if everyone knows that.
No, they don't. Mostly the people that I work with at ESPN, because every time I travel and I try to check into a hotel and I hand them my real ID, they're like, who the f*** is this? So, yes.
Does it mess up
it's
your
a fun
miles?
story. It does not, because I do everything under my legal name. It's a fun, cute little tale of having a stalker like 20 years ago, and so changing my professional name to Elle so that people couldn't find me. And then I got married since then, so like my real name would blow your mind.
Oh, should we
I'm not
cut
gonna
that
share
whole
it.
thing? Should we
No,
cut the whole thing because of the
absolutely not.
stalkers?
No, the stalker. No,
Part
the
of the
stalker
story.
was 20 years ago. He's good. He's moved on. He's stalking someone else, I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure.
I know. It's like,
For sure.
God, hopefully he doesn't like
Someone more
rookies in
local.
the WNBA because
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
getting a bunch of those too. No, we're very excited to have you here. We'll be talking all things WNBA because we are officially into the playoffs. So real quick, like zoomed out, by the time this comes out, the first round will likely be over. We might even know who's in the semis. But coming in, like, who were you most excited to watch, and like what storylines were you tapped into?
So I think for me, the biggest storyline that I was really excited about is, first of all, the Liberty Health, because they are, I think, from top to bottom, the most talented team. but they've obviously been plagued with injury. 17 different starting lineups this year alone. And we're keeping an eye on what happens with Stewie. Obviously, I did see at the time of this being taped that she was at practice before game 2 and she didn't have a brace on, just a leg sleeve. So she looks like she's okay. But I think like rumors of their demise have been greatly exaggerated. They just couldn't play together at all. So really interested to see like once they were healthy and able to play together, what that would look like. It's shocking to me that a team that we kind of had penciled into the finals again landed all the way at a 5th seed. But I'm really, really intrigued, you guys. And as two, pros and Hall of Famers, I'd love to get your perspective here. Like, what's a bigger catalyst to a title run? Is it revenge or is it momentum? Because we all know that like the revenge factor for the Lynx is something that I sort of earmarked at the beginning of the year. In fact, our very first WNBA countdown, they were like, what's the story that you're looking most forward to? And I was like, these pissed off cats, like they're angry and they played that way all year long. But then, of course, here come the Aces who won 16 straight games to end the regular season. And I'm just really interested to see like which one is a bigger force multiplier when it comes to a championship level run. And I think, Minnesota in game 1 that we saw, like return to form. They are who they are. Like they're incredible. So much depth. But like A'ja Wilson's the most dominant player in the world right now. And everybody else finally figured this thing out. Like her and Jackie have been kind of holding this thing together, her specifically. And now the bench is getting involved. I think they had like 34 bench points in the first game against the Storm, which is like something that they could not get last year or this year. They had nobody coming off the bench. So that to me, but personally, because I love a short queen, I'm actually really excited and have been excited to watch Natisha Heidemann. Like she closed out the season on a tear. And then in their first game, she had a plus 32 plus minus. You guys, that is second best in franchise history in the postseason for Minnesota. And we all know that they've had like Hall of Famers come through there. So she's been super exciting, like on the court and then of course off the court, because I love her cosplaying as Dejanay Carrington. That's been super fun to watch. Like I know she's a stud, but I know that she's a stud, but I feel like the lipstick conglomerate's going to come for her now because she looked real comfortable in that wig and makeup.
She looked good.
Great. Yeah.
I was
right?
like, really hold on.
Wow. Honestly, I'm like, she walked really well in those heels too.
Yeah.
I was like, how are you pulling that off?
A seamless
she's
stud to
phenomenal.
femme is like unheard of. That's wild.
Yeah. Can is it as seamless? Can you go femme to stud? Like, does it feel as natural?
I think so.
I think it's easier to go femme to stud
Yeah.
than stud to femme. So it makes it just like even better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think what
Like,
she
it
did
looked
is harder.
Generational talent.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
think what
I
she did
mean-
is harder. She's two-way player, guys. She's two-way.
I'm done. Sue, what do you think? Revenge or
Revenge.
momentum?
Revenge. Yeah, I don't, because
Really?
revenge doesn't leave. Momentum you can lose that a little bit. And by the way, the Aces are also in the revenge category. They have a little, it's like an in-season revenge thing where, early they were struggling, people were writing them off. They get blown by Minnesota by, I don't even remember now, 40 or 50 points.
50 plus,
Yeah.
like 52
so
points.
now it's like they have their own version of revenge. I think revenge just lasts longer. It just stays with you longer. You think the other? You think the opposite, Megan?
I mean, I think momentum is really important, like catching that flow at the right time. I mean, listen, both these teams, like you said, both these teams have the revenge. Both these teams have the chip on their shoulder. I think more important is both these teams know exactly who they are, what they're doing, and how they're doing it. And mostly it's A'ja and Fee. They're like, this is the game plan.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we're doing. This is what we're built around. And they have like ultimate clarity around that. I mean, I need this finals. I need it bad. I feel like everyone
You
else
could say that
just is not there.
You could say that like there's a revenge factor for Fee as well, because I don't know exactly when they're going to announce MVP, but I do believe it's going to be A'ja. And I wonder if Fee, I mean, she was very, very clear about the fact that she knew exactly what she needed in that last game to get a 50, 40, 90 season. And she wanted to get it because she felt like that was her last opportunity to really like, have the resume to get MVP. But I do think Asia's going to win again. And if you're Fee, you're like, what the do I have to do? Like, do you guys, I feel like Fee is living the Kevin Durant experience pre 2014. Like those 2 straight years that he finished second in MVP, he absolutely could have won the MVP. He played good enough to get it, but not for LeBron James. And then, of course, he did finally break through in 2014, but I think she's kind of experiencing that because last year, those numbers, she could have won MVP, but Asia was historic. And this year, like Fee could and should, and for most of the season, we had her winning MVP. And then here comes Asia. And it's got to be incredibly frustrating. So I wonder if there is some revenge element for Fee as well.
Yeah, Megan, what have you been calling Fee this whole season?
Scorched earth.
Scorched earth.
I've been calling Fee scorched earth since January. It's just
she's so angry.
So angry. And like she's just going about her business. And I don't know. You could give it to either of them, but I think Asia might win it too. Okay. Who do you think, injuries aside, obviously, New York has had a ton of injuries. Fee was injured for a little bit. Teams have been up and down. Who do you think overachieved this year? Who do you think underachieved this year, team-wise, in the W?
Overachieve 100% the Valkyries.
Valkyries, yeah.
Love them.
Like, what? What? Like, it's crazy to think that we keep using this, like, stat and this caveat of, like, they're the first expansion team to make the postseason since the inaugural year. I'm like, well, everybody was an expansion team, so that's not. Let's just leave it at they're the first expansion team to literally make the postseason, to win as many games as they did, and on top of that, they're doing it with an island of misfit toys. I'm a homer. I love the Atlanta Dream. I don't think anybody saw them putting the season together that they did and locking up the 3 seed. But at the same time, they had a perennial all-star in Alicia Gray. They have an incredible shooter in Ryan Howard. They had BG come over. She's a Hall of Famer. Bree Jones has been there. They had a new coach. And again, I think it was a little bit surprising in that way. But you guys, like, I was on the expansion draft show. And real talk, like, after they made all their picks, I asked the girls off air, of course. I was like, what we think? And it was crickets. Like, there was a lot of these faces. I don't know. Right? Like, it was just, there's zero chance that you thought that they would make the postseason. And to be honest, if not for the fact that, they lost a few games down the stretch, they would have been a higher seed than they are now. So I think they completely overachieved 100%. In terms of who, like, underachieved, the Sparks. I do think that, like, we thought maybe Kelsey Plum coming over, we knew they'd have the scoring bit and all of that. There was certainly questions about, like, who's going to be the main facilitator, who's going to be the point guard in that situation. But I think they thought maybe, like, having Cameron Brink come in, I felt like they would do better. I in no way thought they were a championship contending team, but I thought that they would be a playoff team. I believe everybody else kind of lived up to expectation. Paige was incredible, but I don't think anybody thought the Wings were going to do much. Certainly nobody thought the Mystics were going to do much, or Chicago. So, like, I think for the most part, it was really them that underachieved. LA, what do y'all think?
Yeah, I see all that points. I think a lot of people, God, it's tough for me to say. I think the Storm may have underachieved a little bit. I think a lot of people would have thought they'd finish. Last year they had, they still had Sky, they had NECA, obviously, the change up with Jewel, but they added Dom, they added Brittany Sykes, still had Ezzy, Gabby, the whole thing. I think people thought that a veteran team like that would have finished higher than 7th. And 7th happened on the very last day. They were basically in 8th, So I think that you could definitely consider that. Man, hopefully the Storm fans don't come after me for that one.
Well, you know what? Like here's the thing. Like, you're not going to get more shit than Chinea Agumake, NECA's sister's going to get. And Chinea said this on air and off air, that she thinks the problem with the Storm is that they just play to the level of their opponent, which is great news when the opponent's really good and not so great news. So to your point, they weren't beating teams that they were supposed to beat. They couldn't build any momentum. NECA had an amazing year. And if I would have told you that she was going to have the year that she had, and to your point, they were going to be a 7 seed, you would have called me a liar. But yeah, I think that's kind of been their biggest issue all year. It's just inconsistency and playing to the level of their opponent.
Yeah, but otherwise I agree with you. I think Atlanta, nobody really saw. It was always about, so I actually covered Carl Smesko when he was at Florida Gulf Coast when I was in my broadcasting like color commentary days. And when he got the job, I was like, oh, this is interesting because he's very analytical. He plays the game. Every single one of his players, he gets them to buy in, which is a huge thing in the WNBA. I always say, in the WNBA, you don't even really have to be, it's not about whether you're a good coach or a bad coach or whatever in between. Do you get your players to buy into something that you're confident in coaching? That right there can get you wins alone. So I was really curious about it, but no way to predict adding 2 traditional 5s with the guards that you had was going to actually work. So I totally agree. They, in a sense, overachieved because of that.
I think Carl Smesko too, like, I know a lot of the feedback I was getting was from people that were like, I don't know that this system works. Like, it works really well at Florida Gulf Coast, but is this high volume 3-point shooting, like, is that going to work in the W when the talent is better and when all of those things are better? And it was funny because talking to my basketball girlies who don't know anything about football, I was like, yeah, it's like Chip Kelly. They were like, what? I'm like, Chip Kelly in the NFL, like this sort of like wildcat triple option, like that works really well in college. It doesn't work at all in the pros. We saw it not really work with the Eagles, which is why he's an offensive coordinator now, not a head coach. But I think there were some comparisons there of like great success with that in college when there's not as much talent. But in the W, is that going to translate? And boy, did it.
Yeah. No, it definitely did. It definitely did. He also had, he inherited the right guards for it.
Yes.
He inherited the right guards for it, which is a big part. All right. So we've already named like a bunch of different players that are still playing in this playoff run. Who do you think, if you could name like 1, maybe 2 players, who do you think like, oh, if this player plays well, this team's going to go far?
I mean, Nafisa, although I feel like that goes without standing. She just kind of always plays incredibly well. For me, it's like when you look at the Liberty, it's going to fall on Jonquel Jones again, just like it did last year, right? Mm-hmm. Like they need JJ to play a finals MVP caliber again. For Atlanta, I know that even amongst sort of the contenders, they're certainly, I would say, still an underdog and a bit of a dark horse. But what are they going to get from their bigs? They've been incredible on the boards, obviously. The shooting's going to be there. They shoot really well. Although in that first game, for a team that shoots better than anybody else from deep, I think they had like 2 threes and they still won the game.
That's a good sign, by the way.
That's a great sign, by the way. Now, the Fever conversely like to shoot a lot of threes too, and you knew that. And they famously are really bad for some reason at shooting threes on the road. Like they're horrible at shooting threes on the road. So they shift back home, and we'll certainly see how that plays out in game 2. But I do think, and we kind of touched on this already, I do think it comes down to, for the Aces, like you already know A'ja Wilson's going to give you 25 plus, and Jackie's going to give you a bunch of buckets. Like it's going to come down to their bench. If their bench can keep playing, Jewel Lloyd seems to have finally found her rhythm coming off the bench. If they can continue to get great production off of their bench, I don't know that anybody has an answer for A'ja. I think like part of why the Lynx struggled with the Liberty is that they don't necessarily have an answer for really dominant post. And so I like if they can get some production from their bench and have some depth, which is really what their issue was last year, despite the fact they made it to the semis, I don't know who's going to stop them. Like I don't see who's going to beat them just because she's the most dominant player on the planet. Yeah.
You brought up, the Fever, they're going to get to have a home game, which was like the big talk last year. Do you have a thought on the 1-1-1 format? That changed, just for those that don't know. It changed from the higher seed having 2 games at home, and then they'd have to go on the road for the 3rd game if they lost one. Now it's home, away, home. Thoughts?
Yeah. I know the internet is like blaming Caitlyn Clark for this. Like you made them change the rules and now you're not even playing, which is like bananas to me. But I do think that I asked some of my, former friends that played in the W and whatnot. And they were like, to me, this makes the most sense because it made a ton of sense when we didn't have, private travel, when we weren't chartering travel. Like you needed some time and it was difficult to get back and forth that many times in a week. But I think it makes a ton of sense to be able to give someone an opportunity to host a playoff game. Like you made the postseason. And if you're going to stick with the the best out of 3 format, just giving everyone an opportunity levels the playing field. Obviously, if you are, the home team, obviously, if you're the higher seed, like you're a bit annoyed because you feel like maybe it levels it a little bit too much. But I don't think there's anything wrong, especially as we continue to grow in this league and grow fandom, to assure that every single one of those teams that did what they needed to do to make postseason is going to be able to benefit from revenue and having something in their arena, making money, and being able to sort of sell that as well. So I'm not nearly as anti as some people seem to be. I mean, what do you think? Like, you played, like, you think it, would you? No,
I'm not anti at all. I'm not anti at all. I also think you just brought up revenue, and I think that is just a really important piece to this. Teams need to be able to make money on their teams making the playoffs. This is a business. Yeah. They need to have that opportunity. And as far as like leveling the playing field or not, and the travel, it's all, you take one away, you get one over here. It's like, it's all a toss up. You got to go play the games. I could argue in my last go around, we played DC. We had home court. We almost lost game 1. And even in game 2, it was very close as well. And it's like, none of us wanted to go on the road for game 3. That didn't feel fair. That felt like more pressure being the higher seeded team. So it's just like, you could sit there and argue the basketball aspect of it. It's a business decision. That's why I'm all for it.
No, I think it's great. It's like a better competition strategy for business, for the actual competition on the floor. I think it's better for the fan and fan engagement. Like, you're getting like just like a real, okay, you get one, I get one, you get one. And like, you get to actually have that. Because of that format, the 1-1-1, do you think there's any upsetability in these first few series? Like, what series do you think have the potential for any kind of upset, if any?
Man,
New York and Phoenix being a little weird.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was literally about to say, I'm gonna put that one aside because, like, let's be real, right? Like, they're very evenly matched, and I like I said before, I think the Liberty are the most talented team. I don't know that in this first round it's rife for necessarily an upset, especially after seeing the game 1s. But I will say that, like, even though it's not going to be at the Chase Center, like, being robbed of a chance to like sort of see the Ball Hall of fans who have been incredible all year long, who have set attendance records, who are a total atmosphere and lit, like, being robbed of the opportunity to see them, like, get to see their team in person is reason enough for me to like the 1-1-1. But I will say a team like the Fever, like, do I think that the Dream should take care of them in this series? Yes. Do I absolutely see the Fever being able to pull one out at home? 100%. And then it's anybody's game, right? Mm-hmm. Like, and then it's like, okay, we're evened up. Like, I think out of most of the teams, based on what I saw after game 1, that might be the only series that is rife for an upset if you take Phoenix and Liberty out, because it's only an upset by seeding alone. I don't see the Valkyries being able to beat Minnesota, whether they have a game there or not. I could see them like winning a game there. I think they beat the Lynx at home already this year. But I don't see them coming back to Minnesota and being able to pull that out. But I do think that, like, out of all of them, it could be the Dream Fever. It could. Because again, I don't think, like, we didn't see a huge contribution from Aaliyah Boston in that game. We saw Kelsey Mitchell going off and doing her thing. The Dream really dictated the pace of that. You know how much the Fever want to run. You know how much they like feed off that energy in that crowd. If they can dictate pace, steal one at home, I think it's a total possibility they could steal one in Atlanta, where the playoff atmosphere is not quite as intense as maybe we would have hoped. I'll just leave it there. I mean, there's like 3,000 people there. Like, it's just, it's like tough. It's like they're a victim of their own success. There's 3,000 people there. It's tough to really create an atmosphere when you have a small arena like that. So I think, like, I could see that happening.
Yeah, and they, I think it was Dua Lipa who did the Dream In. I don't think they can get to the arena because of Dua Lipa. I get it.
I love her so much. I love Dua Lipa, but damn it, you could have put her at the Mercedes-Benz Dome or something. Like,
That's true.
I know, it's a bummer.
So sticking on the topic of, like, just all these new playoff formats, how do you think the 7-game series is going to impact the finals?
Thank God. Did you not want 7 games of the Liberty and Lynx last year?
Oh, definitely.
If it's a good series, of 100.
If it's a good series, we want more. But I'm interested because 5 is a lot. 5 is a lot given how short of a rest period you get in between games, given the travel.
Mhm.
Obviously, you already brought this up, Elle. It's like the chartering changes everything. I think there is a little bit more time in between games. But 7, and you've already played these teams, 3 times in the regular season, then you're adding on 7. Woof. I think it's going to be so much more of a just so much more of a chess match.
I've been told, and again, I've never played famously a day in my life, but I've been told, Sue, that it is once you start playing these teams over and over and over, in particular in like a 7-game set, we see this in the NBA too, those last couple of games are just like slugfest. They're not particularly pretty basketball. It's not, they're not typically high scoring. Like at that point, you guys are just kind of just... Everyone's like tired, you know each other well, you know the tendencies, you know what people are going to do, and those don't tend to be the best basketball games. But I do think that, like, again, when we talk about revenue and money and being able to sell a 7-game, like, you make a ton of money if a series goes at least 6 games. And they never had, as from the TV broadcast prospect, everyone always prays. Like nobody really cares. Like if you don't have a dog in the fight who actually wins, everyone just prays for 6. We're like, that's when we make money. We break even at 5, we make money at 6, and we make more money at 7. And so I do think that, like, again, an opportunity for more money and avenue, revenue and all of those things. And if the series is really great, then I would love to see 7. And let's be real, like, depending on the matchup, it might not go 7. They don't always go 7. We just saw the NBA Finals go 7 for the first time in like 10 years. Like, it doesn't happen as often as we'd like to assume. But I do think that, like, if you're the Lynx, after what happened to you in that Game 5, like, God, I would have loved to sign up for like one more at the Target Center at least, right? To see like what could have happened there. So I'm with it. I also, to your point though, they don't give these women 2.5 weeks to do the finals like they give the men. I mean, these dudes have like 3-4 days off in between games, and it's not quite the same schedule for the women. So I'm interested to see, especially when you think about 2 teams. Now, we can't see the Lynx and Liberty in the finals again because they'll face each other in the semis if they keep going. But for, a team like the Liberty, if they were to make it, that has been banged up and health has been an issue, I am interested to see like what kind of impact having to play a longer schedule in such a short amount of time could have.
Yeah. All right. Let's get to some of the season awards. Veronica Burton, Most Improved Player. Really impressive year by her. We talked about, even before you came on, just like the incredible atmosphere that they have, the team they've been able to put together, led by Natalie Nakase. Is she your Coach of the Year? And how do you even like judge this award? We've talked a lot previous episodes about like what makes an MVP, what's the criteria for all of that. But what do you think about Most Improved, and then what do you think about Coach of the Year? And do you have one?
Okay, so can we agree that the 4 top candidates for Coach of the Year were Cheryl Reeve, Natalie Nakase, Nate Tibbetts, and Carl Smesko? Like,
Yes.
To me, those were like sort of the 4 that I was looking at. And when I thought about Nate Tibbetts, I was like, dude, an awesome job. He returned 1 starter from a season ago, and they had the 2nd most wins in franchise history. He did an amazing job. And especially at the beginning of the year when they were hurt. I mean, people keep forgetting, like, they spent a long time without Ka. They spent a long time without AT. So I think he did an amazing job. We already talked about Carl Smesko, like, most wins for a first-time coach in league history, and like how he, that's the highest seeding that the Dream have ever had. However, Carl inherited All-Stars, a Hall of Famer. Like, he had a lot of talent on that roster that had played together. Cheryl Reeve, I mean, they won the most games, like her consistency, all of those things. But for me, it was Natalie Nakase, because on top of the fact that she has not been a head coach before, save for overseas, I believe in Japan over a decade ago, she did this as a first-time head coach with a bunch of cast-offs. Like, it's with a bunch of cast-offs. Again, an underwhelming roster when you looked at it on the surface, and the idea that they bought in. Like, right away, she established a culture, and they bought in, and they take so much pride defensively, and they take so much pride in everything that they do, and they really took on the personality of Natalie Nakase. And I think that early on in the season, a lot of the struggles that we were seeing from the Aces wasn't just issues with depth, or, they lost Kelsey and they were looking for more offense. I think Natalie was such a huge part of what they did, and it was really difficult to contend with her being gone. And so for me, it came down to that. The fact that she hadn't been a head coach before and a professional league here anyway. And the fact that she did it with the roster that she did made it easy for me.
Yeah.
Oh, she was amazing.
I agree. Really hard to.
What about y'all?
to turn
Like,
away
who
from
was
that.
y'all's picks?
Yeah. Natalie.
Flat out.
100%.
For
100%.
every reason. Like for every reason. I thought she did incredible. And just like in a complete, like you don't know how. It's not like she's just like a first year coach somewhere. Like she's a first year coach of an expansion team, like in a new city. Like there's no culture. You don't know what the fans are going to be like. The fans obviously ended up being absolutely incredible, but like just everything is unknown, and to be able to dial their culture and their style of play and their vibe in like so quickly is like, that's just a testament to her. She knows exactly what she wants and what she's doing. I thought that was super impressive.
Yeah. I'll actually give a shout to, well, really, I'm sure they did their expansion draft like by committee, but Ohima, like the GM, I mean, what I did like about their picks were they went European and they went really like veteran, right? Like by getting Monique Billings, but just people who have played in the league and or people who have played professionally. So I feel like that did allow them, that set them up for Natalie to implement her style, because you have older players. They're just going to pick it up a little bit sooner. But when Kayla Thornton got hurt, I was like, okay. That's it. That might, because she was kind of showing herself to be obviously an all-star, but like their leader, their scorer, and then didn't miss a beat. And that's when I was like, oh, to me, that's coaching. That's coaching right there.
100%.
That's saying something. I mean, I just touched on it earlier with Carl. When you come in, you know who you are, you know how to teach it, it's going to win you games. And I think that's Natalie Nakase, and that's why if I had a vote, that would have been my vote. For sure.
Let's make it a song. If I had a vote, that would be... How do you not have a vote?
You're always DJing.
Beautiful.
The hell?
Can't
Always.
stop it. Always DJing.
Trying to sing. That girl will never stop singing. Shut the hell up.
Okay, so Megan mentioned criteria. We've talked about it. Do you have, we kind of already touched on like the fee and Asia of it all, so I'm not necessarily trying to deep dive that again. But when you think of MVP, just like in general, any year, are you going, what's your criteria? I don't even want to lead the witness here. What's your criteria for an MVP?
I know where you're going with this, because it's every year we go, is it the best player on the best team?
Yep.
Is it the most valuable to the league? Is it the most valuable to their team? You know what? I'm going to throw a word out here that there's a shortage of when it comes to just culture and really everything in our country, nuance. I believe that you should take each by case basis. Like, I think that this year for me, what went into my decision of Asia being MVP was simply the fact that, again, it's okay to have had a front runner the whole time and then be presented with new information and go, and like for me, even if you are on team, it should be the best player on the best team. Okay, that's all well and good. And when the Aces were fighting to just make the postseason, which was wild, I can understand that because of that chasm between the Lynx and the Aces, you could go, come on, like, it's got to be Fee. Look what she's doing for this team, and like, look how good they are. But once they started winning, and once you realize that the only games that they did win, even when they were a 7 and 8 seed, even when we were going, what the hell is wrong with the Aces? The only reason they were doing anything was because of Asia Wilson. She strapped the team on the back. And then during the 16-game win streak, she had like 3 30-point games. Like, she's unbelievable. And so if you're on the team, it should be the best player on the best team. The Aces did what they needed to do and became the 2 seed, meaning that chasm is not nearly as big as it was earlier in the season. And I think it's difficult for someone like Asia. Like, there is voter apathy. We already know that. Nobody on the surface wants to give someone 4 MVPs. In fact, no one's ever won 4 MVPs before. I think you can ask Nikola Jokic about voter apathy. For sure, he should have got that MVP over Embiid. But people don't. They want to give it to someone else. I don't think it's any knock on anything that Fee did. It did go in. I did process the fact too that if Fee was to get MVP, she would be the first MVP in league history to miss the percentage of games that she did and still win the MVP. Mm-hmm. Again, not her fault. She didn't ask to roll her ankle. I just think that Asia just wrestled it away from her. She just did. And so For me, I think it's just, it depends on the year. It depends on the circumstance. I don't like to just sort of like with a broad stroke go, well, this is how I view MVP. I think every year is absolutely different. And for me, it was Fee all the way. I told people like 6 weeks ago, I was like, lock her in. It's rubber stamped. Like it's hers. Like, how can you not? How can you argue with what she's doing? But once we saw the Aces go on that 16-game win streak, once you sort of like process the idea that it is still 90% A'ja Wilson and her strap and the team on the back, and like the efficiency and the idea that she also plays defense at an incredibly high level. Like we've never seen a WNBA team win 16 straight games and not win the championship that year. And I'm not saying that this is going to be the year that the Aces, break that. Certainly they could, continue that trend. But for me, it was just, she took it away from her. She did. Like she snatched it from her and I had to go her.
I think that's a great point about it ended up not being the chasm that it was all year. And it's hard to like get that out of your mind where you're like, yeah, Asia's great, but they can't win a game. They can't win 2 games in a row. They can't do this. And then it's like at the end, this is the whole season that we're looking at. They're the 2 seed and A'ja had the year she had.
I know. Can I just throw in? I can argue both sides. This is like, now I'm glad I don't have a vote. I want no part of this. But I think Fee's 50, 40, 90 season is so incredible, so impressive. And A'ja has currently a 50, 40, 85 season going. And it really did take like an act of like heroics to go 16 in a row. And that's why I think she is the leader in the MVP conversation, will likely be the MVP. And it took something incredible to dethrone Fee. And then also it took these games. And that's the tough part, right? The WNBA doesn't have a rule around missing games and that disqualifying you, around percentage of games played to be eligible for these awards. So maybe that'll be the next. Sometimes you have to live it for rules to change.
Yeah.
Totally fair. Yeah. The NBA implemented that policy and they should have, but I do again, I feel for Fee because it's like,
totally.
I don't like if you're her, it's like, what else do I have to do besides play in a different era? Or even Alyssa Thomas. Like you could say the same thing about AT, who had a stupid year and a couple of years ago, came in second to A'ja Wilson. Like you're just living in an era. Fee might be, and I hope that's not the case, but like right now, Fee's, I mentioned Kevin Durant, but she's giving me like Clyde Drexler feel, where it was like, you play the same position as Michael freaking Jordan. Like, oh God, like it's not you. You did nothing wrong. You did everything right. It's just Jordan, and I hate it for her because I know, she works hard every year. She's so intentional about improving her game and getting better at something specifically. And I know how much that she's really worked at being this. And of course, she says the right things and wants to be a champion more than she wants to be an MVP. But she wants to be an MVP. And she, in any other circumstance, she'd be a 2-time MVP at this point, if not for A'ja.
Well, this one wasn't quite as contentious. Paige Bueckers today announced that she's the rookie of the year. I think many people expected this, but was it always Paige for you? Because Sonia and Kiki made quite the effort at this. I think way more than anyone thought. And I think actually that chasm is a lot smaller than maybe people think. But was it always Paige for you?
So I actually, at the beginning of the year, 3 games into the Wings season, I texted Andrea and Shanae and I was like, Paige might not win Rookie of the Year. Like, this team's not good. It's like so bad to watch. And it kind of goes back to that. I was like, this team is bad. And it kind of, went back to the idea of what we just talked about with like what makes Rookie of the Year to you. I thought Sonia and Kiki were absolutely fantastic. I love how much Kiki has come in and really asserted herself. And has been so much more consistent, and she can play every position, can defend every position. Like she's done an amazing job. Sonia was fan-frickin-tastic. But if you're looking at all things being equal and that neither one of those 2 teams are playoff teams, for me, I don't know how you don't give someone the Rookie of the Year. So I say all that to say, early on in the season, I was like, this might not be as like clear cut as we all assumed. Like Paige might not just run away with this. But then Paige just started being Paige, and like 30 straight games of double digits, a 44 ball. Like when you talk about her season and it being historic, and the only numbers that she shares for rookie players is with A'ja and Candace Parker, who famously won MVP her rookie year. I just don't know. I got to be honest with you. To me, the only thing that was surprising about the announcement was that it wasn't unanimous. I did think that it would be unanimous, and it was close. There was 2 votes for Sonia Citron, and I see why. Like, Sonia's fantastic. But Paige absolutely was incredible. And it's hard because when we were coming in, Sue, we did one of these questions of like, who do you think has the highest ceiling of the rookies? And it was interesting because some of my coworkers were saying Dominique Malonga. And I was like, what? And they were like, the reason is because Paige is already kind of a complete and finished product. Like, we already know how good, like, obviously she's going to continue to grow and get better and all those things. But like, Paige has already pretty much revealed herself to be pretty generational and incredible. And I think that, there's a higher ceiling for some of these people that we thought it would take a little bit longer. So I thought it was pretty clear cut. I'm not shocked at all. Based on the video of her receiving the award, Paige wasn't super shocked either. Maybe shocked that Kathy was standing there at the end of that walk at the Jennifer Hudson show. Like, what happened? But she was amazing. And it sucks because the wings were a mess. But she was the steadying force. I think she showed great leadership. And the one thing with Paige too is that this question gets asked a lot. I'm interested to turn it back on y'all. Sorry to do this to you. I get asked this question all the time. I'm sure you do too. Why hasn't Paige resonated in the same way that Caitlyn did? And I think there's a bevy of reasons. But I also think that people don't find efficiency to be particularly sexy.
Yeah, no.
People love, right? Like there's always going to be someone that's on team Steph and someone that's on team LeBron because Steph is the logo. He's flashy. He's highlights. He's all of those things. And Caitlyn is incredible. Her dishes are stupid. All of those things. And Paige is efficient as hell. And that is enough to put people to sleep because they're like, I don't know what that means and I don't care. Where are the highlights? Where are the crazy behind the back passes? Where are you shooting from the logo? Paige just always makes the right decision. She almost never makes the wrong decision and she doesn't turn the ball over. And I think those things are not particularly sexy, which is why people don't give her the same sort of attention and they're not maybe as crazy about what she's been able to do and why we overlooked a lot of her rookie campaign. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think the way Paige plays, not just the efficiency, but just the way she scores, I think historically has been overlooked in women's basketball players. And that is what helped Caitlyn separate herself. I remember doing an interview, I think Caitlyn was still in college, when this kind of dawned on me. It was oh, the logo 3 and the distance and the range and the way she shoots it off the dribble, all of that put together, that is the antidote to dunking. It was we finally had something where people couldn't question it because the distance is the distance and it either goes in or it doesn't. And that's why anytime, we've seen videos of opposing teams on the men's college basketball side who come into Iowa, what do they try to do? They try to shoot from her little logo where she broke the record. They're like, let me test this out. I'm sure managers are doing it. I'm sure faculty's doing it. Every man in the world who has stepped in that building wants to try that. Because it, in this way, was finally this equalizer that you couldn't argue. It was what it was. And I think women's basketball in general, again, historically, it's oh, but how tight is her crossover really? How hard was that shot really? Oh, a mid-range is a mid-range. Anyone can do that. And it's always been a way, I think that a lot of guys, sadly, they've been able to put our game down and not respect it. Because they didn't really know. They clearly didn't know. And that's where Paige's game lives. It lives off the dribble. It lives in the mid-range. She can do a lot of I think, wow type plays, but it's not that logo 3, even though she does that too from time to time. But it's not the same way in which Caitlyn did it. And I think that right there is definitely a differentiator for sure.
I also wonder if there's some kind of cultural reason for this. Paige is an out gay player. She's been explicit in her support for racial justice and supporting Black women and talking about that. Is there something to that she's not and it's really not in comparison to Caitlyn or to anyone else, but just sort of her, is that the kind of person that this society and that this culture props up to be the biggest star or the most powerful person in sports? I think there's something to that. I don't know exactly how to articulate that. I'm interested in your guys' answer to that, or if you think that that's part of it. But I do think that her efficiency and the logo 3 part is you're right. It's a great equalizer in these conversations.
I'm with you, Meg, in that like I thought about that a lot too. I think that, when there's comparisons to, I mean, I know we call her Ponytail P, but I think the comparisons with Steph Curry is more than just the logo 3s, the range. I think it's that for most of our life, you just knew you had to be good at basketball, but you had to be a little genetically gifted to be a basketball player as well. And so the sort of everyman couldn't dream of being a lot of these players because they're like, well, unless you're gifted with height, like that's going to end your career right there, right? Or like size or all these things. And Steph comes in and he's not like the tallest guy in the world. And he's not the biggest guy in the world. And he looks like he's 14 years old. And everybody felt incredibly relatable. Like he felt relatable to them. Like Steph made like the kid at the Y who wasn't genetically gifted feel like he could have an NBA career. Whether that's true or not, like they felt like he was their person that broke through and was like, you don't have to be genetically gifted. You can just be really good and like really work at your craft and make the NBA and become this prolific scorer. And I felt the same thing about Caitlyn Clark, and that there is all of these young girls in the Midwest or whatever who love basketball, that when we talk about representation, and most of the time we're talking about representation and visibility in spaces that are white dominated, right? The exception is, of course, the W, where it is not, where it is dominated by women of color and queer women and all of these things. And so they see this like girl from Iowa who looks like, like any other like girl from the Midwest from Iowa who was sort of infiltrating this space and was dominant and was incredible. And it gave an entire sort of faction of the population, these young girls, the visibility to go, oh, wow, like I thought you had to be, this strong, overly athletic woman of color to be able to like compete and be really good at basketball, because in this space, it's been dominated that way. And now I see that there's like sort of a path to that where I can be, Caitlyn's not crazy tall, but like she's incredibly athletic. She's worked at her craft and she looks like them. I think that why it's gotten so out of control is simply because of the time that we're living in. Like, I wonder if Caitlyn Clark 15 years ago, if we're seeing the same weaponization and vitriol surrounding, a Caitlyn versus, or I wonder if we would have experienced it in the same way if she had just been in a different era or a different generation. I think it was just a mix of all of these events happening all at once that have sort of gotten us to where it's become a culture war. Because I don't think there's anything wrong with exceptionalizing Caitlyn Clark. We exceptionalize people in every sport, right? Like there's a reason that even though they're bums, people love the Cowboys. Why we talk about them all the time, because the ratings are there. So there's nothing wrong with exceptionalizing, but it's turned into this culture war, I think, because of the dynamic of our country, and for no other reason than that. I do think that like if this happens 15 years ago and we see Caitlyn Clark in the league, I think she probably has the same level of popularity, but I don't know that it's as nasty and it's as weaponized as it is now.
I mean, we're kind of talking about this, but for you specifically, when it comes to this conversation, I don't mean this specific to Caitlyn and Paige. It could be any player at any point. You're talking about rookie of the year, MVP, this, that, the other. How do you approach, because you're going to be asked these questions, I'm sure all the time throughout the season, or you are asked these questions. How are you approaching just simply comparing players, knowing that once you say something positive about one, everybody's going to be saying, well, what about that? What about this player? Yeah. How do you manage that? How do you navigate that as somebody who has a voice in women's sports?
Yeah, you just can't give a shit. Whataboutism is like an epidemic in our country. Well, what about this? I think there's nothing wrong with exceptionalizing. And I think we've gone a little too far down the pipe of going, if I'm going to say something nice about this player, let me say something nice about 7 other players too. And I also think that pressure firmly falls on women's sports. I think that because there's this idea or narrative that if you're pro one person, you're anti something else, and that you have to be a girl's girl, and we're all supposed to look out for each other, and you can't say anything negative because you're not being a girl's girl, and you can't say this because you're not being a girl's girl. It's really unfair pressure. And I think something that is specific to women's sports, and I don't like it. So like, I have at every given point, been called everything from a racist to a sellout, depending on what I'm talking about, because I didn't find there to be an issue with Caitlyn Clark being named on the Time, Women of the Year, Sportswoman of the Year. The whataboutism of like, well, what about all the other players in the league? Again, there's nothing wrong with exceptionalizing people. We don't put our brain in a pretzel when it comes to men. Like we don't go, okay, well, blah, blah, blah won MVP, but what about all the other great players in the league? Of course, there's a ton of great players in the league. And alas, this is your MVP. And alas, this person is a trendsetter or this person is a ratings driver. There's nothing wrong with exceptionalizing people. And there's nothing wrong with not feeling like you instinctively have to give 30 other people comments because somehow praising one person is denigrating everybody else. And so I just don't care. Like I've gotten to a point where I'm like, you asked me the question, I'm going to answer the question, and I'm not going to do the whole, spin cycle of like, what could go wrong here? Who else do I need to shout out? What are people going to perceive that I'm saying? I'm going to answer the question that's asked. If you ask me a question and you're asking me to give my assessment on a player or a situation or a game or whatever, I'm going to leave it there. But it's been tough, Sue. It sucks because I've only been in the W space for a couple of years now. I've been in women's basketball space for years. And like socially, it was always so fun. And I think everybody was just so excited that like all of these new eyeballs and viewership and all of this would just mean an opportunity to cast a light on everybody. And it's become the opposite. It's just become this nasty place where people are just waiting to attack you. And for me personally, it's been a bit of a bummer, which is why, you do something like this, you do a show like this where you're going to talk about women's basketball, and then you let go and let God because it's going to get wild in these streets.
Yeah.
It's going to get wild in these streets. You can't mention someone's name at this point without getting some vitriol. So it is what it is.
Yeah, I think when we first started this podcast, I had this idea that I was like, this is going to be great. We have some control over what we're talking about. We get to get it right. We can plan. And no matter what, even when you think you've nailed it, somebody will find like that one crack in the door you've left open to maybe where you didn't say it perfectly enough. They will find it. And that I agree. It is, I think it's what makes it tough. And even though I came into it thinking that, I've definitely learned my opinion is my opinion and you just got to roll with it and nothing else matters. And let's be honest, like we watch more, we understand more, we know more. So that's like the expertise there is really what I think we can all.
Sue, are you telling me you know more about basketball than Jim Dog 37 on Twitter? I don't know.
Jim Dog.
Honestly, Megan knows more about basketball than Jim Dog 37.
That's right. That's right.
But Megan, you know a lot.
That's right.
That wasn't a bad thing.
I do.
But since we've had this explosion in women's sports, but the WNBA specifically, has the media coverage, has ESPN, the big networks, have they kept up with the explosion? And then how have you seen it evolve?
No, I think it took everybody by surprise, just the, sort of the inertia, like how quickly it all took off. And I think that people are struggling, and that's everywhere, but people are struggling to fill their rosters when it comes to writers and reporters and hosts. They're just like trying to play catch up. So what they're doing right now is you're taking people from other spaces and you're going, hey, can we put you on the W beat? That's difficult because they just like intrinsically don't really know. They don't have an opportunity to sort of like explore the storylines and to get to know the players and also understand the backstory. There's so much when it comes to the WNBA that predates this current explosion that they don't understand. And every time you bring it up, it's like, you're living in the past, like, get over it. This is a new league, like, move the fuck on. And it's like, okay, well, but all of those things are important. It's important to know that context and have that information.
It informs
and it's also,
what's happening now.
It informs everything that is happening now. But then, of course, if you talk about like why there is division or why there is any of these things, or, how these women for many years have felt, in a league that's, dominated by women of color and queer women, like why they feel this way, why they express these things, potentially any animus that might, be happening between them. It's not jealousy. It's not like I'm a jealous girl, which is what it's like. It's just this idea that for so long, they were really sort of painted a certain way and in a certain light. And even now, along with the explosion, it's still a way to dunk on a lot of these women. It's like, you can't just say, I love this new player because they're amazing. It's, I love this new player and all these bitches should be lucky she plays because they ain't shit. It's like you can't. And so I think that the media is trying to do a little bit of what we just said right now, which is, I've said this at work, to folks as well. It's like if we mention Caitlyn Clark, do we have to mention Angel Reese? No, or vice versa. No. If we mention this person, do we have to? And it's just this idea that I think everybody's overthinking it. I think nobody wants to step in it. I don't think anybody wants to, get heat from one side or the other. Mm-hmm. And so they're sort of just playing it safe in many ways. And I also think that eventually, we're going to get to a point where we have deeper rosters with more Sue Birds of the world who sort of understand the game and have played for a long time. That's going to take time. It takes money. It takes resources. And that's going to continue to come. But right now, I just think that the explosion took everyone by surprise in a way that they just weren't ready in terms of stacking the decks behind the scenes to offer all that additional context.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have this, it's not really some theory, but kind of, where a lot of the people that you've mentioned, that it's not enough to say, I like this player. You have to say, I like this player, and that's why the rest of you aren't worth shit. I think deep down it's because there's a lot of people that didn't give women's basketball a chance and see it for the business that it is. And now that it's booming, it's their only explanation. They can't just say, you know what? I overlooked this. Because now that, and I was brought in by this player, which, yes, a lot of people were brought in by Caitlyn Clark and others, 100%. I was brought in by this, and then, wow, what a world that I just totally ignored. My bad. They can't just say that. They have to shit on it to then prove, well, this is why I didn't care before. I think that is also in this pot of, as you mentioned earlier, the nuance of it all exists here as well. So there's all these different variables. How are you finding, because obviously, listen, you're an anchor on SportsCenter. You're also covering, both women's basketball in general, but the WNBA and college basketball in the studio, but you also have your own show. So how, with having your own show, having your own voice on that show, are you finding, is it allowing you to provide this nuance? Are you finding that you're able to create more space in the world of women's sports with it?
Yeah, certainly not as much as I would like. I think that's always a work in progress. I would love to be able to, I still have a master that I serve, right? That's still going to look at me and go, okay, that's fine. You want to talk to the second person off the bench for the dream. She may have a really cool story, but can we get blah, 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 right? So it's still television. They still want to get the marquee names, and I understand and I get all of that. The thing that I am trying to do the best that I can with my role, and it's on SportsCenter, for example, I have a great team, but I also have a team that I know, if I, on the call today, if I'm we should get this in the show, we should get that in the show, I'm trying to use my little corner to do whatever I can to push women's sports. Hey, you guys are all pretty locked in on the W right now. Do you know this is happening in volleyball? Did you know that, Tina Charles is going to sign up and play for Athletes Unlimited? I'm trying to do my piece to make sure that in the male-dominated spaces, in the football-dominated spaces and whatnot, that I'm at the very least a voice for hey, consider this storyline, or consider having this person on. And sometimes you'd be really surprised. It's just it's not met with any resistance. It's more met with oh yeah, I didn't think about that. Maybe we should try and go see if we can talk to Paige, right? It's sometimes it's met with stuff like that. But, it's trying to control the controllables and say this is still going to be a process. And, the ratings are there and all of those things are there. I love that you mentioned, Sue, the people that feel dumb because they didn't watch before. There was no better example of that. These people are very quiet right now, too. We posted a couple days ago from ESPN PR that this season set rating records in the WNBA all time. Mm-hmm. We got a lot of crap because we would compare everything this year to 2023. And it's you're just erasing 2024. You're erasing Caitlyn Clark's rookie year. And it's no. It's just that was exceptional, right? That was a anomalous in many ways because she is otherworldly and stellar and all these things. So we compare that to the numbers before she was there. But this is the best that we've ever seen. And Caitlyn didn't play this year. So where is that now? Right? She really was not a factor in terms of ratings. I mean, she was a huge factor in the games that she played in, but in terms of league-wide, we still put up the best numbers that we ever had. And that tells me, to your point, Sue, that people are coming to the game and they're going, okay, well, even if my favorite player is not playing, this is a really good team. Like, you think Caitlyn wants her fans to go, well, you're not playing, so the fever. Like, Kelsey Mitchell is really freaking good. She's the top scoring guard in the W. Like, you want to see her in action. You want to see Aaliyah in action. So I think that's been great. But I'm just trying to do the best that I can to speak up in the places where I am mostly the only woman, and to try to further like storylines and narratives and speak out when I can about why some of these narratives are so hurtful and harmful to the players. And that's the best that I can do. And I always am, obviously convicted to do more, but like just trying to fight my little fight every day is like, that's what I bring to the table.
Slugging
along.
You're definitely doing it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
God, you're absolutely doing it. I mean, I think even just having the consistency of seeing your face at Final Four, and then you're seeing it during the season, and then you're seeing it at the WNBA finals, like that consistency over time in prime time. And then you're also seeing you talk about things that people know that we care about, football or whatever it may be. It's like, oh, okay. So that face tells me I need to care about this. Also, it's like the perception of it, the narrative is so important. I want to touch quickly on the CBA. Obviously, the CBA is coming up for the W. I think the CBA has a huge opportunity in changing perception because the numbers are going to be higher and it's going to be more in line with what everybody feels like the players should be making and capturing this huge moment. How do you feel like the players have navigated these negotiations, this huge moment? And do you see like a difference from the past of how they're handling it now versus before?
Hell yeah, Meg, you know better than anybody. What do you need when it comes to a contract negotiation? Leverage, baby. And they have all the leverage. They've got the leverage. Apart from all, obviously, the growth and the interest and all of those things. They've got the ability to look at the league and go, well, you can't tell us on one hand, you're not making any money and cry poor when you keep expanding. So like, you're going to keep rapid expansion. You're adding more teams by the day. I don't know too many people who do that if they're crying poor. But I also think conversely, this is the first time that we're going to see public pressure. Like, I don't think people in the past really gave a damn. It was just kind of like, okay, what? They're fighting for like maternity rights. That doesn't resonate with me. I don't really know. It doesn't matter. They're not making money. No one watches. Just all of the things that people used to say to sort of minimize the impact of previous CBAs, which, by the way, have been amazing. Neko Wumake's done a great job. But because of the popularity of the league and because they have options, like gone are the days where it's like, well, fine, take this or go to Russia. Now it's like, all right, well, I'll go play on Unrivaled. Or because I'm so popular, I have marketing deals. I have money. I can sustain a work stoppage. Like, I'm not going to be working at Chick-fil-A like you seem to believe if we don't play games. They have options now, and they have, more importantly, public pressure. And I saw that at WNBA All-Star when you saw the fans chanting, pay them, when you saw them wearing the shirts. Like, they now have not only each other, but I think that they have a huge faction of the W, fandom behind them as well, saying like, this is unacceptable. And why on God's earth? Like, can you imagine like when they were headed to the moon for the first time, like someone coming on and being like, you know what? We have a bit of a discrepancy with your health insurance. We're going to turn around. That's insane. Like, get it done. It makes no sense to stop what we're seeing right now because you don't want to give them what they've earned, what is fair. And this idea of like, well, they lost money last year or they did this last year. First of all, anybody that said that, imagine the company that you work at coming to you and going, hey, Charlie, we weren't profitable last year, so we're going to cut your pay. That's insane. That has nothing to do with the players themselves. They've got the highest media rights, they're making money, and they're expanding. Pay these players what you owe them. And I think that they have more leverage and opportunity on their side than they've ever had before, most importantly, because they've got public pressure. And that tends to be a motivating factor for most leagues. Mm-hmm. What do you think? What do you think, Sue? I mean, you were in the last CBA.
Sue's not allowed to talk about these things.
She's
in
she's
storm
not.
ownership.
Gotcha.
She's in storm ownership. She's on the other
Lay
side
it.
now.
Lay out, bae.
Yeah.
You're going to just cut this part out of the
Literally.
podcast?
No, every time we do it, usually I just like scoop myself off.
No, I agree with you. I think
Megan
leverage in public, having the public on your side is huge. And I think for two reasons. Obviously, you just want the chorus behind you. You want all those people. But the more the public is behind you, it means the more the public is paying attention. It means the more people are going to games, buying merch, turning the TV on, going to the finals, whatever it may be, buying the things that the brands sell that sponsor the players. And so I think that's one part of it. I think the other part, a work stoppage would be catastrophic for both sides. That's like,
Yes.
I know it gets like thrown around a little bit, but we are in an unbelievable moment of growth and like where the ceiling is just so high. Let's all, if I'm the players and if I'm the owners, like, yes, outside in the public, I'm saying one thing, but behind closed doors, I'm like, listen, you guys, we are like on a rocket ship right now. Like, let's do this. Let's get our equal part of the pie and let's make that fair, but let's continue to grow this business together. We all want the same things. Like, let's put rocket fuel on this thing. Let's have good labor negotiations. Let's get to a point where the players are happy and getting what they deserve and they're part of this growth. Cause I agree. We're not expanding and selling teams for $350 million if we're not making money and the potential isn't there. Like, let's do this together and let's come together and have an incredible sort of like joint win for everyone where we can stand up on a podium and be like, we all did this and this thing's going to the moon. Like, let's everybody hop on board. So I think it's an amazing opportunity for both sides to really catapult this into, the multi-billion-dollar industry that it's already becoming.
And I think you can look at another sport. You can look at baseball. When they had their work stoppage, 20 years ago or so, like, it was never more popular. Ratings, bonanza, they had the work stoppage, and there are people that'll tell you it never recovered from that. And so, like, let's not fall by the wayside and sort of follow in their footsteps and reverse course right when we've got them where they want them. But I think that's why the women are being so incredibly vocal, and why, at any opportunity, they're saying, pay us what you owe us. And they're being, really bullish about the things that they want, really publicly speaking about the non-negotiables, simply because they know that they've got wind at their back now.
Yeah.
And I love seeing them use their power for good.
Yeah.
Love
What I can say is I think the beautiful part is what's happening now from an engagement standpoint. Players and ownership, like both sides, are really engaged in a way that we didn't see because, numbers weren't what they are and we all went overseas and made a ton more money. And so I can think of, forget the last CBA negotiation in 2019, 2020. The ones before that, we were lucky if we had like 30 people on the call. We were lucky if 30 people voted. I'm not even joking, guys. The things they don't talk about, the voting numbers were so bad. But it was kind of like out of sight, out of mind. We weren't getting offered much and we were overseas getting way more. So it was like, okay, we'll just figure it out. So anyways, all that to say, it does make me proud to see the engagement on both sides. And the same goes for ownership side. Like, I think owners do want to get the deal done the same way players want to get the deal done. Obviously, we all hope it's a deal that works for everybody. And Elle, the other thing I can talk about is my favorite part of this show, bench start cut. It's bench start cut time.
Oh, God.
Do you care to partake? It's an easy one.
Of course.
This one's easy. This one's
Yeah.
easy. Okay.
Yeah,
We
it's
always
easy.
play bench start cut. Here we go. Okay, this is in your world of like things you cover. Bench start cut, the women's Final Four, the WNBA Finals, or because we know you're a Georgia Bulldog fan, the college football championship game.
Well, it depends on if my team's in it. Shit. Oh, man. God. Okay. I'm going to start women's Final Four. I just don't think there's anything like it. I love it so much.
Yeah.
I love it so
good.
much. I love
So
it.
good.
I love it so much. I'm gonna bench the WNBA championship. I've only been to one, but it was, it was in New York. Like, it was so lit. And I guess I'll cut, The national championship. I can watch that on TV. Football games are better on TV in my assessment anyway. So.
Okay. So real quick, what do we were, before coming on the show, we were going through the bench start cuts. What do you call? Is it just the college football championship game? Is it called
national
something?
championship?
The national, just
No,
the
it's
national
just called the
championship
national championship.
game? Okay. All right. That settles
The
that.
Natty.
We're like,
Yeah.
is
The
it a
Natty.
BCS bowl, something? Nope.
I
just
love y'all so much.
national championship.
We don't know. We were like,
Listen.
what's the football?
Portland doesn't have, where Megan went, doesn't have a football team. And we were 1AA when I went to UConn.
I was like,
So there is a reason. And I grew up in New York. The closest team was St. John's, which is like, what?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's like,
Yeah.
there's not a lot of
I
college
love
football.
that, right? Like I'm from the South. Georgia, like football's just like
you
in your
breathe
blood
it.
there.
Yeah.
But I will say this, it's not crazy to ask that. The national championship is a different bowl every year depending on the sponsor. It could be the Sugar Bowl is the national championship. It could be the Tostitos national championship. It just depends. So you're not wrong there. It does change names, but it's just the title game.
All right. Well, settles that. All right. Next up, being a radio host, being an ESPN host, being a podcast host.
Ooh, okay. I'm going to start being an ESPN host. God, I don't want to denigrate radio. Radio gave me every
I know, it's
foundational
your
tool that I
roots.
needed.
It's your roots.
So I'm going to bench radio and I'm going to cut podcast.
That makes
I mean,
sense.
I don't know why. There's just so few podcasters in the world. I know that my voice is really needed in this space, but
essential.
I imagine doing radio when you're on there for like, an hour or 2 hour long show, whatever it is, and they're just like, go. That has to teach you
4
hours. That has to teach you so much.
Wow.
yeah, it's a nightmare. How to talk to yourself, which has always been a talent of mine. I'm like, see, Miss Hildebrand, you said I was crazy, but really I was just training to be a radio host. It is tough. I mean, you just talk to yourself for 4 hours, and sometimes you don't have the benefit of music to go to, so you just literally talk to yourself for 4 hours. It's tough.
Yeah.
It's really, really tough.
Well, we're
They don't get
thankful
enough
for we're thankful for Atlanta radio because it brought you, Elle Duncan, to where you are now. And thank you so much for coming on the show. We appreciate you, and we just love you. And we can't wait for the next Final Four because it's really the after party that I feel like that's why.
Yeah.
I
That's
was
why
gonna
you
say,
started.
this might be
it.
the
That's what we're
first
talking
time
about.
we've
That's why
ever
you
hung
started
out without some libations and some chit chat. Like I was like, I'm gonna be like sober, hanging out with Sue and Meg. This feels weird.
Yeah.
True.
It's
But
nice.
also great. You guys are really great
I
sober.
love it.
You're great
Yeah.
sober.
Same. We're
I still love
well-rounded.
you.
So are you.
You are.
We love
yeah,
you.
are.
Thank
Thanks
you
for
so
having
much.
me, ladies.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you for all the time. We love you. Of
course.
The most.
Well, that was amazing. I love talking to Elle. I'm just like, wow, you
Love her.
definitely talk on TV as your profession because you're so good at it, so succinct, and so knowledgeable. I really
We need
enjoyed
4
that.
hours. We need those 4 hours. We could have gone on and on. We didn't even get to like 20 topics.
I know.
With Elle.
I know.
She's the best.
She's the best. We'll just have to have her come back on.
All right, come
Have
on.
her on.
Love to have her back
I'd
on.
love to have her back on. Okay. Now it is time for a touch more. This week, it's a touch more. Congratulations. We've got
Yeah.
2 legends, 2 Hall of Famers who have hung it up. Go ahead, Megan.
Alex Morgan had her jersey retired last week from the San Diego Wave. No more 13s ever again. I think what struck me about this, I was thinking, I mean, first of all, Alex, just congratulations on your whole career. I know you're going to have a national team celebration game. This is incredible accomplishment, what you meant to, that club, but just the world of soccer and just the landscape in general, what you're doing on the field, off the field. Like you built the world in which your jersey could be retired in. I think that is what's really striking me is like this world didn't, exist before you in the way that it does now, in the level that it does now. And so you're able to experience a moment like this because of yourself, basically, and because of all of the work that you and obviously all of us and the team and the sort of general world of soccer has done. So this is incredible for all of the reasons and all of the accomplishments that you've had on the field in and of itself. that would be a Hall of Fame career and a jersey retirement worth career. But you did all of that off the field as well, to just such an exceptional level. And forever grateful. I'm so happy you had that moment, and congratulations on your jersey retirement, girl.
Yes, a big, huge congrats to Alex Morgan. Also, a big, huge congrats to Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce. We mentioned being at the Track World Championships in Tokyo, where we got to actually see Shelly-Ann, the most decorated 100-meter sprinter in history with 3 Olympic gold medals, 10 world championships. After a 20-year pro career, she completed her final professional race. As I said, we were there. It was so fun to watch her in the semis and then qualify for the finals. And she did it all with a smile. Just, I mean, if you've ever been around her, we've spent just a little bit of time, but even in that 1 week, a couple months ago that we hung out with her, so much joy, like so much, I don't know. She's just alive, you know? And it really, you can tell she's had such a big impact, both on the track, off the track, in her home country of Jamaica, has done so much. She's one of the OG think tankers. She was in cohort 1, so helped put together the think tank, which again was the trip that we went on with Nike. So yeah, just want to say congratulations to her. The real question is she going to keep her career going in the parent race? She races against the other parents at her son's school. So that's the question.
Better. It's
I mean, the absolute definition of no mercy.
None. No. People need to know. People need to know. She needs to keep doing this for as long as possible.
I know. I hope she keeps training for it.
I love it.
Not that she needs it.
Congrats, Shelly, on an amazing career.
Okay. So even though we usually finish this show with a touch more, we do have one more thing we want to touch on before we go. We were in Japan when Charlie Kirk was murdered. We were in Tokyo when this happened. And I think like everyone else, we are still processing. We are still trying to understand just the impact as more information comes out. What we do know with 100% certainty is we are against any violence, political violence, of course. And this is a really sad situation, sad day for Charlie and his family, sad day for the country, because as we know, and as many people have said recently, political violence sadly begets political violence. And you hope that the cycle stops here, but it is scary, I think, for all of us. Being in Tokyo, for me, was really this validating experience in that I've always known, I've talked about it on this show, that in today's climate, with the way media covers things, with the way social media really escalates things and puts it on the fast track to wherever it's going, you have to double and triple check information. And because we were in Tokyo, a lot of times things were happening as we were sleeping. And so you'd wake up to luckily have missed maybe the first, second, third iteration of information. And it really got, it really sunk in for me. Like, because had I been awake, opened up my social media and seen, one headline that then got debunked a couple hours later, and then got debunked again a couple hours after that, over and over, I would have been caught up in that cycle. But to have not experienced it, to open my social media, 12 hours later and see the impact on different people, different conversations you have, that was really enlightening, I think, for me. But again, validating. And I think my message continues to be, you have to find voices you trust. And even those, it's better to double and triple check. You can't believe every headline, every post that you read. You just can't. This is the world we live in right now. You can't. They even mess up things like, you open up something to be like, 1 million people attended this. Actually, it was only 100,000. I mean, even numbers, which should be like black and white, right? It is or it isn't. It was or it wasn't. Even numbers get conflated and inflated. So you really have to triple check. I think the other thing is find voices, but don't jump to conclusions. We have to allow critical thinking to take place. Don't jump to the conclusion, even if it's a voice you trust. Don't jump. Try to keep yourself from doing that. And last but not least, I just want to read something that I did see on social media. I've mentioned Sharon McMahon before. Her handle is Sharon Says So. She posted something. It was quoting Carlos Whitaker, who's a podcaster as well. There is a new drug that people have not only become addicted to, but have become junkies to. It's a different drug than we've ever had the opportunity to take as Americans or as a global citizen of this planet. That drug is rage. And the needle is the thing you're reading this on. You may have accidentally become addicted to rage. And the thing I want you to do is step away from this device and see if the rage is still there. Anger can be there, sadness can be there, but rage should go away. And if you come back to this needle and you start scrolling and you start to feel the rage again, that is an extremely important indicator that what you are injecting into your body and into your heart and mind and soul is rage. And we were not created with the capacity to consume the amount of rage that we consume. And I have to admit, I fall victim to this too. There are times where I pick up my phone and I feel rage. And so when I saw that, it really spoke to me because I think it's something we also have to be extremely mindful of in today's climate.
Yeah, I think the thing that struck me immediately and the most was just the sharp escalation of political and violent rhetoric that's happening that is now being translated into a sharp escalation of political violence from January 6th and those riots and the storming of the Capitol, stoked by this rage, by this needle that you're talking about, from State Rep Melissa Hortman and her husband Mark being killed, murdered, multiple school shootings. I mean, those are just like, as horrible as to say, that's like a dime a dozen. There was a school shooting on the day that, or the day after Charlie Kirk was gunned down. If Nancy Pelosi, they were going after her, but her husband's home, he was violently assaulted. Josh Shapiro's home was firebombed. Like, all of this rhetoric, and I do think that Charlie Kirk was stoking this rhetoric and this hateful speech. I think for all of us, like, is what you're saying, is what you're posting, is what you're supporting, is it contributing to a world where we can have difference of opinions and where debate can happen and where you can go on a college campus and have different views? Or are you contributing to a world that allows someone to buy a long range rifle and gun someone down from hundreds of yards away? Like, that's, I think there's a lot of rage on both sides. There's a lot of rage online. There's a lot of rage in our political landscape. But ultimately, are the things that you're doing and saying and supporting and liking and clicking and voting for contributing to a world that allows something like this to happen, or supports a world where something like this can happen, or are you supporting something different? I totally agree with you. Taking time, letting things sink in. We live in just such an immediacy type society. It's difficult to do that. Misinformation, disinformation, AI, different videos, this, that, the other. It is important to slow down and allow yourself to think and process. And we're still doing that, obviously, as is everybody, as is the country as a whole. But I think I go back to what just really struck me is, like, you stop becoming a legitimate society when you use violence in place of discourse and in place of being able to have conversations and respect other people. And that's not to say that, everybody just gets to like while out and say whatever they want. Sometimes belief is put in the place of, if your beliefs take away my rights, well, no, that's not a legitimate belief. But I think for all of us just to be aware of the things we're liking, consuming, clicking on, reading, saying, supporting, is it contributing to this sharp escalation in political violence and in discourse and in the polarization, or are we supporting something different? But it's a sad day. That was a sad day in American history that something like that can happen. And it's really scary. It's scary for a lot of people. It's scary for public figures. It's scary for the general public. It's scary for politicians, of course, but like little kids are doing mass shooting drills at school. That's scary.
Yeah. I think the only other thing I would like to add is, we obviously have our beliefs, our political beliefs. This, to me right now, this is a gun issue. This is because of guns. I mean, there's a lot of other things that come into play, but it's the guns. And we should be having that conversation, not blaming. And that goes for all the shootings. If there's no guns, these things don't happen. Like, period.
Yeah, I don't think we should accept anybody's life being lost. This is obviously an ongoing conversation. It's, we know so little, I think, at this point about what happened and how and who did it and all the things. So we'll just, continue to sort through the information as it comes. And yeah, this is difficult. So I think we'll end on that. Thank you for tuning into the show. That's it for this episode.
Thanks to Google Pixel for their support. If you're tired of settling for the same old phone, it might be time to switch to the Google Pixel 10. It's got the time-saving Magic Cue, which gets you the right info when you need it, a built-in camera coach that helps guide you on how to take the best pic, and the ability to generate videos of pretty much anything you can imagine with Gemini. Head to the Google Store now to learn more about how Google Pixel never settles.
Magic Cue availability varies. User 18 and up. Camera coach results may vary. Subscription required and availability varies for VO3 video generation. Users 18 and up.